Okay, we got some things to discuss, haven't we? So I thought that's why I'd enter in a bit more dramatically. It, uh, there's a lot that's been going on at the minute. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of anger, anguish, despair, even. And this is just the life of a Manchester United fan. Like we're so happy, right? And then we're really not. There's no sort of middle ground, is there? We win the derby, we're happy. Yay! Amad Diallo is the next Messi. Messi wishes he was him, and we're happy, and everything is hunky dory. And then we lose against, was it Nottingham Forest? It's like, but that can happen. They're having a great season. And then Bournemouth, a 3-0 at home, they're having a great season as well. And then Wolves in a relegation battle. We're in a relegation battle. That's where we need to. Do you know what? Brentford played Brighton, or there was some kind of game like that this weekend. And I remember thinking, it ended in a draw, didn't it? And I remember thinking, that's good for us. Why am I thinking that? I should be looking at Liverpool with Arsenal and all them, but we're far off of that. The fact is, we just have to accept the fact, and Ruben said this, that there is a storm. Right now, we're in it. Feel that? It's probably the leak at Old Trafford. We're in the storm, and we just have to ride it through. And there's nothing more that we can really do other than that. And that's a pretty sad feeling, and it's a pretty annoying feeling, and we want to be able to do more. But the fact of the matter is, we can't. There's nothing really we can do about that. And I'm sorry. Hello, welcome to the video. This is the Dev FC channel. I am going to think of a name at some point. I haven't got one yet. If you think of a name, put it in the comments and get a like going on the video. Not for any like algorithm reasons or to like boost my channel or the other things it does do, but just to make me feel better. There's no other reason than that. And what more of a reason do you need than to just make a man feel better about his life? That's all I want. And if you can do that, that'd be great. We're on 2.1k subscribers as well. So if you can get that up to 2.5, that's when the giveaways come in. Another one's coming at 5k as well. So I'm aiming to hit 5k as soon as possible. So let's hit 5k. That'd be so nice. 5k subscribers, that'd be nice. Well, and then 10, and then 20, 5, 50, 100, 250, million. Let's hit the 10, and then we'll get to the rest of that later. But go on, subscribe. You'll enjoy. And we're just going to have to talk pretty candidly, but I'm not going to go into too much detail about each of these games because as far as I could see, they were winnable games on paper, absolutely. But also, the physical floor of the Premier League and the technical floor of the Premier League has gone up, and we have missed that. And we are playing catch-up. And it's pretty embarrassing to admit that, but that is where we are. And a lot of clubs have been there. Liverpool under Hodgson. I mean, Chelsea previous to this regime. And then Arsenal under Arteta in the first instance. You kind of have to deal with the rot going on at your club and to deal with the pressures head on if you're ever going to address them. So I look at all these games and I just keep going back to what Ruben Amorim said, which was, A, that the storm is coming, but also he made the point that you either jump in and just try and get results and you're back with the same problems in a couple of years, or you try and just deal with the problems head on and then you can try and actually remedy them beyond having to do it again. So you can just get rid of them once and for all. And let's face it, we've been wanting a system that we can buy into, which is one. We've been wanting a manager who can charismatically deal with the pressures of being Manchester United manager. That's two. And also deal with actually having a hierarchy that wants to back a certain manager in their principles and in their ideals, and is willing to also get rid of the riffraff that doesn't suit that ideology. So just moving forward and being as cutthroat and as serious as we should have been this entire time, but we haven't been. And that is what we've got. So it looks bleak right now. And people say it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I just completely disagree. I think the light is clearly there. It's just a long, long, long tunnel. And the thing is, when you have certain seasons which give you that bit of dopamine, which make you feel good, or get those certain moments that make you feel good, well, I would much rather just have getting over the line in certain games but playing in a certain way, or you start to see the remnants of something being made but the results aren't quite there. Like already we're conceding fewer chances, we are creating more, we're not converting them. That is a big problem obviously, but we're creating more, we're controlling games a lot better, and the results are where they are. And we're seeing individual mistakes, we're seeing being undone by set pieces, but this is all part of the learning process that Amorim and his team are going to have to adjust to. So, frankly, after the City game, of course we were all happy, but none of us were getting ahead of ourselves. We were getting excited and we were having fun. There's a difference between doing that and getting ahead of yourself. I didn't think, okay, now it's time for Champions League. I said I still think it's time top 6 if we can hope for that. That's genuinely where we are, and that's sad. It's very sad, but you kind of have to start looking at things in a bit more of a realistic way when it comes to Manchester United. We're not the team that we were, and we have to build a lot from the ground up in order to get back to the levels that we were, and also to try and surpass that, because the modern game has moved in a different direction. So, the games themselves, I mean, the Wolves game hurt. It's annoying to see one of those games, but it was just one of those banana peel type games where new manager bounce for them. We haven't really had one, but new manager bounce for them, and we struggled to really get going. That's a fact. And Bruno did what he did, which I thought was pathetic from Bruno. I try not to use hyperbole or like harsh language, but you're on a booking 2 minutes, 3 minutes into the half, you get sent off. Pathetic. And I'm glad that Amorim actually didn't look at him as he went off. Like these kind of moments, and seeing how people react, you see who they really are. And there are moments where this team, the mentality, like, they're so ripe for head loss at every given opportunity. And it's because there's probably a lot of arrogance or probably a lot of immaturity within the squad. And it's where you look to certain pillars within the team to get you going again. And I see like Alessandro Martinez kind of like that figure. I see Ugarte being that figure in future, 100%. De Ligt, 1,000,000%. Mazraoui as well. But I should be looking at that from Harry Maguire. I should be looking at that from Bruno Fernandes himself. Do you know what I mean? And there's not enough of that. There's nowhere near enough of that. Diogo Dalot, there should be so much more from someone who is playing such a consistent run of games. I don't care how old you are. It's how many minutes you've had on the pitch. And each of these players have had enough minutes on the pitch. The one who hasn't is the one that keeps on trying to step up in Ahmad, but it hasn't been good enough. And for me, the Nottingham Forest game was a real killer because you started to see Onana make a few fumbles. I was at the Tottenham game. We saw Bayindir make fumble on top of fumble, and then we had the game against Bournemouth where I think everyone was just poor, even though we created double as many chances, had double the XG of Bournemouth, and they had a penalty. We still had double the XG, including their penalty. We just can't put the ball in the back of the net. And there's so much stuff circulating about our strikers. And what you've got to remember, what I wish more Manchester United fans did is ignore the conjecture that happens in the media around a big result or big games, because it's so obvious to what everyone is trying to do. Why am I seeing us linking Joshua Zirkzee with a move away when we need a striker? Why am I seeing people thinking that Marcus Rashford is definitely going to leave in January? Or why am I saying that like Maguire might join Luke Shaw and Maguire might join Scott McTominay in Napoli? It's just all of it happens after a bad result. And it's because if I was a media outlet, I would do the same, by the way. It's because Manchester United is still one of the biggest cash cows in the world when it comes to football media. So you want to hear news about Man United. You want to enjoy the downfall. Like loads of clubs want to enjoy it. And I completely understand that. I'd be in the same position. City, what they're doing right now, I'm enjoying that downfall and everyone's enjoying ours. But I do wish that our fans in particular would just calm down over certain things. I mean, we know that the technical and physical flow of the team isn't good enough, but we've been remedying that from this transfer window. That's what I've seen anyway. You can disagree, get in the comments if you do disagree. But what I've been seeing is that we've been buying players who are better than what we've got. Ugarte is better than what we've got. So is De Ligt. So is Mazraoui. Zirkzee, jury's out. Yoro's better. And the youth players we've been bringing in as well. Like, I want more signings like that. We've been linked with like Sver Nipan. We've been linked with, there was we signed Diego Leon as well, the Paraguayan left back. So we are making movements in the right direction, but they have to be inches because, everyone wants to go in on Sir Jim Ratcliffe, all this cost cutting and all this and thinking he's the one, that might say the yes or no, but other people are bringing, this is another thing, by the way, with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, like other people are bringing him these, decisions like, should we cut this, should we cut that, this is an opportunity to cut costs, and he's probably given the overall yes or no, I grant you that, but we have to do that. Like, I know it's not a good look to cut spending on Christmas parties and cut spending on this, but when you're looking at debts and you say there's £250,000 worth of Christmas party spend for a team that's sitting 13th in the league, 14th in the league, like, I would be there thinking, if I own a company and we're not performing, I'd cancel the Christmas party. Am I like, do you know what I mean? So I'm not trying to say he's good for doing that, he's bad for doing that. I'm just saying I can understand why the cost cutting has gotten to the point where it has, because we've been mismanaged and brutalized for the best part of 10 to 15 years, where the overspending and the bad spending and the mal-spending has put us in this position. So I'm trying to sympathize, if anything, with where he's going. I'm not trying to make an excuse for, focusing on that when there are other things to focus on, but I can understand why, as a business person, you're seeing the cost going one way, opportunities to cut, and you're taking that opportunity, is all I'm going to say on him. But there's also been, this is what I mean about the conjecture of the media, because we're going in on the players, we're going in on Ratcliffe. Some people are even going in on Amorim. And I'm just thinking, what the hell is actually wrong with you? We finally have a manager who's given us the things that we wanted Ten Hag to give us, and he hasn't. And we're getting something out of it. But he's very realistic in where he's going. And also, we've seen what happens when he gets it right. But what he needs in order to get it right is to completely remove the bad culture that he's come into. He did the exact same thing in terms of the bad culture at Sporting. There were players who didn't fit his philosophy. I think Hesse, Yannick Bolasie, I think there were certain players like that who just didn't fit what he was trying to do. Not that they're bad players or bad people, but they didn't fit. And he's coming into a situation where actually he's got egos, he's got like weird feelings around him, and weird like PR and reputations around certain players, and he's having to manage all of that at once. And no one's giving him the time of day. You're thinking the three at the back doesn't work. You haven't even given it a chance to work, have you? Like, someone said this, I don't remember who it was. They said it on Twitter, and I saw it, and I completely agree. He hasn't actually had time to train these players, has he? Games have come so thick and fast. He's probably getting in 1 or 2 sessions in between each game. When January opens up, and when February and March opens up, that's when I'm going to look at Amorim and say, who are you improving? Or who of the players is actually stepping up to be a part of the system, be a part of the club going forward? Because right now, it's just sink or swim. Right now, we're sinking, and I kind of expected us to sink, like, maybe a bit better than what we are now. I expected us to swim a bit better than we are now, I'll be honest. I don't expect to lose to Wolves or Nottingham Forest or Bournemouth. I don't expect that. But it is what it is. That is the situation we're in. And we're playing Newcastle now, where Bruno's been sent off and Ugate's been suspended. And we're going to now have to deal with a depleted midfield in a team where we're not even sure how that midfield is supposed to work. So I feel for Amorim. I really feel for him. And I think he fully understands what he's gotten himself into. He knows that it's a big job, but now it's starting to come to roost actually what that job entails. And you know what? If I had to think of many players people in world football who I'd want in charge of my club, I can't think of many ahead of him. So I just say we ride the storm and we just hope for the best. And it's probably going to get worse. That is the facts that we have to contend with as well, because we're playing Liverpool soon. We're playing Arsenal in the FA Cup, and then we're playing Newcastle first. Like, we're not in a relegation battle, but we're right in and amongst that area. When Chelsea were in the same position pretty much the same time last season, I think that's where we are. But Chelsea actually bought players, and there were options. Amorim doesn't have that luxury. So all I hope moving forward is that I'm just going to look at January and beyond and really look to judge which players are suiting the system, how the manager is actually getting a tune out of these players, but most critically, how Ineos are responding to what's been going on. Because you can't, as much as I wanted Ten Hag to stay, and I feel like it would have been hard to sack him after that FA Cup victory, like after a season like that with all the injuries, like he had enough in the bank. That FA Cup, I think, just gave him just about enough to say, you can stay along and we'll back you, and you can see what happens. And he didn't do well enough, but Amorim has had to deal with another £200 million plus worth of recruitment on players that don't fit his system. He's coming into a set of players which couldn't be any further away from his system, and he's trying to make it work. So if there are problems at Manchester United, it certainly isn't the guy who's actually coming in with a blueprint for success and needs our support and his hierarchy support to make that real in his new surroundings. What he needs is an opportunity to thrive and an opportunity to actually be successful, and for us all to just calm down with the riffraff going on. I'm trying to keep as calm as possible about everything, because right now it isn't about results. It is just about seeing where we stand with this manager and hope that the results take a turn, and in this part where it is going to be difficult, it doesn't take too much of a turn for the worst. That is where we are. And it hurts to say it, and it's annoying to say it, and it's a bit embarrassing to say it, but that is where we are as a football club. Of course it hurts, but I'm realistic. And I'm also optimistic about where we're going for the future. And I just want us as a fan base, this is why I started the channel in the first place, for us as a fan base to just calm down about everything that is attached to us, like with Marcus Rashford or with the manager or with other players. Like, just calm down. I'm hearing people now go on about Marcus Rashford talking about, The problem. Since you got rid of the problem, you've been losing games. Well, Marcus Rashford might not be the problem. He's certainly a problem. You don't come out like this is. I'm just being very straightforward with everything now. You don't come out before the derby, because his interview was actually taken before the derby, 5 days before, I think. I'm not sure about the days, but it was before, saying how he's ready for a new challenge. And if it's away from Manchester United, then he'll never speak ill about the club. Why would you ever talk about speaking ill of a club when you're there? What it's like being in a relationship with someone and saying, you know what, we're gonna stick together, obviously, but if we break up, I'm not gonna talk badly about you. Why would you be talking about breaking up? Isn't that a kind of signal in there to think you've thought about breaking up? It's not a good look, is it? And imagine you go and tell all of her family that this is, or his family, or their family, whatever side your bread is buttered. And you go and tell all of their family that, oh yeah, I'm not thinking about breaking up, but if we did, I wouldn't have a bad word to say. What's their parents going to say? What's their friends going to say? Oh, well, he's lovely, he is. Oh, I'm feeling really good about that relationship. Come on now. Whatever Marcus has said, I think it has ruffled up the manager in the wrong way, and this is as simple as I think about it. Marcus has said something that has ruffled the manager up the wrong way, and the manager's not happy with it, and he doesn't want to play him. Finito. Done. The manager doesn't want that player playing in his team, because the manager's the one who's going to be answerable to everything. I back Ruben Amorim all the way over any player. Marcus, anyone. I don't care. The manager says you're not playing, you're not playing. Simple as that. And this is how I'm going to end the video, because I think there needs to be an element of calm, for one, obviously, but also an element of backing the right person, because player FC needs to go. This tribalism on certain players and certain sets within the team, it needs to go. Ruben Amorim is the manager. Whatever he says goes. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But you have to back the manager, especially in a time like this. And you can talk about players we shouldn't have sold or players of this. This manager wasn't responsible for that. And you've got to look at it like that, because he's now coming into a situation where he's having to deal with all of that on his shoulders, and he's still getting blamed for it. You know how pathetic that is? We need to all just chill out with him and just ride the storm and hope for the best. Genuinely, that's where we are. I'll see you at the end of the Newcastle game, and maybe at the end of Liverpool. It's going to be difficult to try and like summarize everything from this in those videos as well. That's why I wanted to jump on here and say we need to just keep things as level as we can. As hard as it is, there is light at the end of this long tunnel. But once we go into the light, we can all rejoice in it. So that's it from me. Thank you all so much. I feel like this is therapy, I feel like this whole channel is just therapy for me. And we can all just sit here and talk about Man United in a nice, calm fashion. Don't have to throw any names around and just keep nice and calm. But I can just get a lot off my chest. Like, I can just sit here and just... It's like we're friends, innit? I could just sit here, talk to you and be like, yeah, this is how I'm feeling about my club. You can get in the comments, this is how I'm feeling about the club. And we can all just talk. It's nice. I don't have to pay no £65 an hour, whatever it is. Like, I don't have to deplete no bank account. This is all free. Subscribing is free. Liking the video is free. And we can all just be in each other's company. I'm not in a company, am I? I'm looking at a tripod stood on top of a Lego box, and you can see my dirty clothes, and I'm editing this on iMovie. Didn't quite have the effect I was going for, but that is my outro. Thank you very much. Subscribe for more, and let's just hope for the best, shall we? Newcastle, Liverpool, and Arsenal next.